everyone. So what type of person wants to become a nomad? When I first heard about this lifestyle, probably about 5 years ago, I saw Bob Wells on Cheap RV Living, and I thought, oh man, that's for me. That's for me. But what made it for me? What was so appealing to that lifestyle that I wanted to become a nomad? I wanted to live like that. I wanted to live in a vehicle, and I just wanted the freedom of it. So for me, I believe that I am an independent thinker. I always have been. Even in a family of 4 siblings, I always thought for myself. And I'm just an independent thinker. And I thought that lifestyle sounds like so much fun. And I don't know how many of you are watching this are already on the road, but it does make you think, like, what of this lifestyle, what appealed to you? And what type of person are you? And so I'm going to list some things that I have written down, and I reflected on who I was also. But not all of these traits of a person who would become a nomad apply to me, but they may, it encompasses a lot. So number one would be an independent thinker. They think independently. They think outside of the box. Because so many people live in a bricks and sticks, but we're choosing to live in a vehicle and travel around. And I forgot to give you your coffee. There you go. Another reality that I have come to grasp full strength lately is alone time. Do you enjoy being alone? Are you the type of person that likes to be alone? I know that, and I mentioned Bob Wells a lot because basically, he is the epitome of what a lot of us think of as the nomad life, and we have learned a lot from him. And I know he talked a lot about in the beginning how he enjoys being alone. He was an introvert, and he enjoys being alone. And a lot of times after each RTR, he had to go off and kind of spend time alone to kind of regroup and get stabilized again. Well, I enjoy being alone also. A lot of the time I'm alone. I'm not in a relationship, so I do spend a lot of time alone. And I actually enjoy it. People say, well, are you ever lonely? No. The only time I would ever be lonely is in a situation where there are a lot of people around, but I'm not being acknowledged. That would be a lonely situation, but being alone, no. I'm just alone, and I enjoy it, Another type of person would be a very frugal person. They want to save money. Personally, I got so fed up with giving rent money month after month after month. And when I first found out about this lifestyle, and there are people out there doing this, I thought, oh my goodness, why am I spending all this? I could be using I could be using my money for gas and buying things that I enjoy and food and just the everyday things are very, very minimal, which brings me down to the next one would be a minimalist. A simple life with minimal. And I want to show you this clip that I also pulled from Mr. Rogers' neighborhood interview. So here you go with this one.
How many clothes can you wear? How many cars can you drive? And how big of a shelter do you really need? Some people get so caught up in the trappings of life. At least I feel that that they lose what is real. And so my desire is to help children realize that deep and simple are far, far more important than shallow and complicated. and fancy.
You wrote a song about that too.
Well, everybody's fancy, sure. We're all fancy on the inside.
Yes, if you're a minimalist and you like to keep things simple, this lifestyle can be for you. Just because you're a minimalist, though, doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy this lifestyle now. I mean, you might not be as adventurous. Another trait, and a trait that I had, was I was a prepper. I wanted the lifestyle of living off the grid. I thought that was super cool. And so I am actually living off the grid for the most part. I mean, because I'm in the city, do I totally live off the grid? Well, I enjoy things in the city that are plugged into the grid. It's not always the case that I'm off the grid, but in my van, my minivan, I'm off the grid. I have my solar, I have my power banks, and that's how I power myself. And of course, with my van, I power myself with gasoline, with fuel. And it's actually, at this point, it's cooling me down too, using the air conditioner in my minivan. Another trait of a nomad, at least to get started, would they want to make a new start. They want to start a new life. Maybe they're retired now, or they're out of school and it wasn't exactly out of college, and they didn't exactly go as they had planned it would. And maybe they want to spend a couple years traveling around in a van. I remember hearing, before I even met up with Bob Wells on the internet, on his Cheap RV Living, was at the University of Arizona. There was an interview of this student, and all through his college years, he was living in a van. He bought a parking spot near the U of A, through the U of A. That's for students, and he bought one. I mean, they can be pretty expensive, but you know, if that was his rent for the month. But every month he paid for a parking spot. And he lived in his van, and he studied in it. I don't know how tricked out it was, but I'm sure that he put a bed in there, and I don't know if he did a build out or anything. I don't remember that part. But I remember that he confessed when it was all over, and he left without any student debt. It was zero student debt. So, yeah. You know, we talked about an adventure and somebody who wants to make a new start. You know, there is another trait of a nomad, and that is the running from the law. Oh, yeah. When you're on BLM land and you meet people, you pretty much want to ask if you can take their photo or take videos of them, because the word is out there that, I mean, they will become furious because they're running from the law. Another thing too is they might be running from an abusive family member or an abusive ex-partner or partner, a husband who's out looking for them and we're abusive. So you do want to be very respectful when you're taking photos out there and you're meeting people. And if they don't want to get so personal, then you know you don't want to be asking too many questions. So another trait of a nomad is you just love to travel. You want to see. And I remember interviews from Sue Ann from Hawa. And I remember, you know, she tricked out her Prius. And she just loved to travel. That's really how she got started. She wanted to go to all the national parks and see state parks, and that's how she got started. It was my understanding, as I remember. Oh, by the way, I got a new Chill Pal. This is, I don't know what color this is. It seems to be the color for this summer, because I'm finding a lot of shirts and clothes in Walmart. It's the only place to go buy clothes right now, in an actual store, or that or Target, I guess. But yeah, it's nice. It's a little bit rougher. I'm feeling around my neck. It's a little bit like it's not as soft, so I feel it kind of straining the skin around it. I have sensitive skin, especially in the summer. I cannot wear any jewelry, any metal. It will leave like this. It will kind of, it's like I'm allergic to it or something. So yeah. Another trait of somebody who will become a nomad and wants to be a nomad is somebody who has very little income. Their Social Security is so minimal. And so they find themselves in a situation where any extra money that they make, any money that they bring in, the bulk of it is going for rent, and they're just literally just sitting in their house or they're probably their apartment they're renting, and they're just so bored. They're retired. They they're just not finding any satisfaction in their life, and so they come across this lifestyle, and they just hop, a lot of them, they just hop in their car. They hop in whatever they have. They don't worry about, I'm going to get something better. They want to go now. The first gal I met at the RTR lived in a sedan, in a car. She was retired. She had a tent that she pulled out, and she had most of her stuff in the tent. Her back seat was tricked out as her bed. She was a tiny gal. She was small. She probably only weighed like 105 pounds. She's very thin, and she was short. Very nice lady, very nice. She was very private, though. I didn't know she was private, but she did tell me that when she told her grown children that she was going to start this lifestyle, they had an intervention for her. So we talked about some traits, personality traits of somebody who would be drawn into this lifestyle. We can also talk about skills. What skill sets really help? One skill set would be like being a mechanic, having mechanical engineering skills. Then you can make good money while you're out here traveling with other nomads, because they always need something. A shout out to Robert. Robert was a mechanical engineer. I mean, he could fix pretty much anything. Yeah. And he did. And he did all the work himself. He didn't particularly like to work on cars, but he could. What I learned from my mechanic before I left was how to do basic maintenance, checking all my fluids and changing my air filter, what to look for, things like that. So I do that on my own. I'm ready for an oil change too. Yeah, a few more 100 miles and I need an oil change. About 1,000 more miles and I need an oil change. Oops. Another skill set would be organization. If you're not organized and you're living in a small space like that and you're not organized, it can make life hell, because you're always trying to find things. That was one skill that, and he doesn't care. I mean, he doesn't care if I say it, because he admitted it. Robert was so unorganized. He just shoved things in. He had to like take everything out to even get to one thing way in the back, and he had a bigger rig, and he had a big a trailer that he pulled. But organizational skills, very, very, very helpful. Other skills on being resourceful, learning how to be flexible, adapting to situations, reading maps, fixing things. Another skill set would be a skill on solar, putting solar up, building, being a carpenter, all those things. And I know for us gals, construction, that is in my background, but I didn't want to bring a bunch of tools with me. I know some people travel with tools, but I'm in a minivan and I didn't want to bring a bunch of tools with me. So if you're thinking about this lifestyle, you're still in your sticks and bricks, and you're still contemplating. You haven't got your rig yet, and you're just thinking about this lifestyle like, would that be something for me? You know, these are their traits, personality traits that you want to look at. If you need to be around people a lot, I know there are some nomad groups. They travel in caravans, but not in the summer. They don't really have caravans going in the summertime. And so they do get a chance to be around people with caravans. I have yet to join a caravan. I haven't. Probably next year I do want to experience them. And I think that is where I will gain some good traveling lifetime friends. And of course with you, I mean, I do tell you that when you're ready to go out there, you're thinking about, you're ready to go, let me know. We can meet up. I mean, I travel, you know, and we can meet up and maybe, you know, hang out for a few months and see how it goes. But I do think that it takes special personalities to work those situations out. What I'm seeing is that in the nomad life, there are more independent people who enjoy being alone most of the time more than I'm meeting any other type of people. I've met people and they say, well, tell me like where you are and we'll go meet up. And but there's always something that I've noticed that most other people also want to be independent. They just do. They want to be independent. You would have to say, okay, now, this time we're going to go where you want to go, and we'll go here, and then the next time we'll go where I want to go. I don't know how many nomads, I'm no expert on it, but I'm wondering how many nomads actually want to do that. I think nomads want to go where they want to go. I think actually what I have found is that the couple of people I traveled with, they wanted to go where they wanted to go, and they appreciated me being a new nomad because they could dictate where we would go. So there again, I don't think, you know, your nomads who are very experienced, they don't want to go where they don't want to go. They want to do what they want to do, and they want it to be on their timeline completely. So, hello. So I would think that one of the biggest drawbacks for this lifestyle would be if you require being around a lot of people most of the time. If you don't like being alone, I'm not sure that this would be as satisfying for you as it is for a lot of other people who really enjoy, I really enjoy being alone. I enjoy being alone. I like to be around other people probably about 15% of the time. And then, you know, the other 85, I like to be alone. Yeah. So how do you get started? Some of you have already bought your rig. Some people go in different steps. Somebody gave them a rig. Somebody gave them a minivan. When I talk about a rig, my main focus is going to be on a minivan because I've never owned a big box van. I've never owned, you know, like what Bob Wells has, you know, they've a build out inside of a van, like a commercial van. And I've never had a class A or B, so, or C. I don't know, is a regular van a class A, B? Is that in that category? I'm not sure. But I've only been living in a minivan. In fact, I wanted to get started on this life so bad that I was actually, if I didn't find a minivan, I was actually going to get started in my car. I had a Buick. I was going to get started in my car. I was going to take the back seats out, and I was going to take out the part that partition, well, I think the seat does. The seat is what divides the trunk from, I was going to totally clean out the trunk. I mean, make it pristine and maybe line it. And I mean, I kind of had it figured out how I was going to do it until I did find a minivan. But I knew that I was going to do this any way I could. And if it required living in a car for a while, that was the way it was going to be. Well, one of the main reasons for me personally, the reason I would have just gone in my Buick was because my daughter's husband was transferred to Cincinnati. I was very close to her and my granddaughter, who was 3 at the time. So I was ready. I thought this is going to be perfect. I didn't have my minivan yet. They just bought a house. They bought it with me in mind, and I took a plane and I went to visit them. I wanted to see what it looked like and see whether I would like it. And so I thought, well, this is it. I mean, I do. And I think it'll be a great adventure. I'm an adventurer. And so I was going to just, even if I had to go in my Buick, I was going to go. But I listened, and it was like God told me, and the Holy Spirit said, look on Craigslist. And I did. I knew He would guide me. And it was perfect. Obviously, I've had the minivan for almost 3 years. And this is a 2006. It's done me well, and it's still going strong. So yeah, I got so I went on Craigslist. As soon as I got back, the next day I got on Craigslist and I found it. And I met him the next day, and I literally paid cash. I mean, I handed him cash, $3,800 cash. I'm very frugal. I saved money. So I gave my notice where I was living, and I had 1 month. I had 1 month to get going. You don't have to do it that quickly. You can actually plan. And some people are more planners. Me, I'd like to be, when it's time to do it. I've been planning for a long time. I've looked at all the videos, and I know exactly what I want. And so I went fast. Now, you can go slow. I wrote down some things, yes. You want to write down the pros and cons. Just take the time to write down the pros and cons of doing this lifestyle for you. What you think would be good and what you think would be bad, and you kind of weigh them out. Another thing too is just continue watching videos like this, and Cheap RV Living. Watch videos, tours of people's vans, how they have their vans, tricked out. Personally, for me, I knew I did not want to build out. That was not for me. I did not want anything to do with the build out. I would feel too constrained. Like there's only so much space that you can see the floor. I like a long floor. I like to sit right on the floor. That's more my style. I like to sit on the floor. And plus with a build out, I would have been more constrained in moving it around and redecorating it and things like that. So I also thought it would be easier to clean it. I'm kind of a clean freak. In my house, I was always cleaning. Always cleaning. And so I knew that if I had a build out, I would feel like I would need to get under things and if I really want to super clean my van, I can just take all the bins out. I can just take them all out and take all the blankets out and wash them. In fact, my blankets I wash. I just did laundry today, got my shower, didn't mention that. And I wash my blankets every week. Once a week I wash my blankets that I sit on. And then I do my bedding. It's been so hot at night, I don't even use a blanket. I don't even use a sheet. It's hot in there. It's getting hot here. I'll probably be leaving soon. Don't worry about me, but I'll probably be leaving soon. I'm starting to, there are a few states that are kind of opening up, so I'm looking at them. Oh yeah, I'm doing my research. Okay, so you want to write down your pros and cons. Make lists. And that relate to you personally. What are the pros and cons to you personally, for your lifestyle, for your personality, and for your particular situation? And number 2, you want to assess your resources. What are your resources? Financial resources, and possibly even your resources for if you want to do a build out. Who can help you with the build out? And if you're a guy, you can probably do it yourself. If not, then, what are your resources? Not every guy is a construction worker. There's all types of men. And, and I don't want to just only include women in this decision making because, you guys have, your skill sets too. And you don't want to be sexist, say, oh, every guy's a construction worker. And that's just not true. Then you want to, what's your timeline? What do you think your timeline's going to be? You want to determine when you want this to go. And then you can kind of set a goal. Like, well, I want to have my van and I want to leave within 10 months or whatever. Or for me, it was 1 month. And then you want to determine where you're going to put all your belongings. Are you going to have a storage and keep them? I do not have a storage. I am not going to spend money to keep things that I could probably buy. Yeah, yeah. Do you have children that you can give your belongings to? You know, they're going to get everything anyways. If you're young, but I'm not even going to assume that you are a retired person. You might be a young person. What are you going to do with your belongings? Do you have a sister or a boyfriend or a cousin or an aunt or uncle, parents that can hold your things for you, maybe in a garage or something like that? At least you can try it out for a year. Are you going to have yard sales? Yeah, you can have yard sales. You can sell your things. You can give your things away. Most of my stuff I gave away. I gave them to my children. Because I knew that and what they didn't want, then I just put out for people to come and get. I was going to do this in a month. I couldn't fiddle around with like yard sales and stuff like that. So, children friend, and then you can always get a storage. If you can get small ones, actually for the first 2 months I did have a storage because I knew I wasn't going to leave this city for a couple of months. I was going to just be here and wait until I think I arrived in Cincinnati. I think I was on it like the 1st of December. I think it was December 3rd. So I was really here all the way through October and all the way through November. So I was here for 2 months. And I remember that year. Oh, do I remember that summer? It was fall. It refused to cool down. It was like still, at the end of November, it was like 90, 95 degrees. So this now, I'm used to this. It was a very hot summer. In fact, I remember that summer, there was like 2-3 weeks straight during July and August that it literally, and I'm not kidding, you can look this up, it got up to 119 degrees. Yeah, it was a crazy summer. So yeah, it was just a hot summer. But you know what? Then the next summer, I was in Cincinnati, it was a cool summer. So people say, oh, climate change. And yeah, it's kind of hot. I think we're about 10 degrees warmer than what normal, because this is just the 1st of May, and I think it's almost been 100 degrees. But next summer, it might be a cool summer. So, okay, so you want a timeline of when you want to do this, and you want to you want to determine what you're going to do with your things. I would suggest maybe having a powwow with your family. Whether if you're young, sit down with your parents and your brothers and your sisters. And if you're young, you want to take off with your daughter or something. I met a gal here. She can't wait to get going. She's already been thinking about it. She saw my minivan. I showed it to her. Gorgeous. She was gorgeous. Hot girls in minivans. The ones who want minivans, I'm telling you, I have met some hot girls that want to be in minivans. She looked exactly, I said, does anybody ever tell you look like Kiera Sedgwick? She's the one that's married to Kevin Bacon. She was in that movie, Phenomenon. She was the one with the kids. She goes, oh, all the time. She looked exactly like, built like her too. But she had her daughter was like 8. And she wanted to get going in about a year. She's planning it. They're going to get a minivan and they're going to go and travel. So, you might have a child that you're going to go with too. So, okay. So, you can go fast or you can go slow. I went fast. You can go slow. You might have time to do this slowly. And then, go ahead and have maybe a powwow with your family and let them know what your plans are. One thing I want to suggest is that you clean out a room. Now, I know you might think, well, no, you're going to like tape it off and leave it. No, don't. Bob Wells suggests that wouldn't be my cup of tea. I mean, do it if you want to. What they did was they taped off an area that would be the size of a minivan, and they would just put all their stuff in there, But what I would do is clean out a room and start putting things in it that that you think you'll want to take with you in your van, in your new Nomad life. you're going to stick a lot of things in there, I guarantee it. And in the end, you're going to have to really, probably 3/4 of it you're going to have to get rid of. You should have seen the pile of stuff that I had that I thought I was going to take with me. I had in my back room, and I had everything that I thought I was going to take with me, and I would put it back there and put it back there. Well, then what I needed to do was, because it wouldn't fit in my van, that was it. My lease was up, and I needed to get in my van. So I started taking the things to the storage unit. In the end, most of that stuff got dumped. I mean, I couldn't take it all with me. And I wasn't going to pay for a storage unit that I wasn't going to see for 2 years. And with what I would have paid for the storage, I could have bought all those things. It wasn't like they were heirlooms, priceless heirlooms, of the family. I gave everything away of value except what I use. Now, I do have a lot of things of value now. And the most expensive are my power stations. I mean, my Jackery alone is $500. And then and then I have 2 other power stations. I mean, I have $1,000 just in power stations. And then I've got my solar panel, which is a couple $100. And then I've got other things that I use, my fans. I've got things that I need and that I use. I've got things of value in there. I've got my astronomy binoculars that on BLM land is perfect. Because you're out there and there's no lights and you can actually really see the stars. I mean, those are worth like $200-300, So I do have things of value. But all the other things, like all my jewelry, I gave to my girls and my granddaughters. I gave them to them, and my daughters-in-law, and I gave everything away. I mean, in my house, I had things that really did mean something to me. I didn't have a lot, but what I had, I loved. Like a really gorgeous tea set that I use every night. I bought it at Mountain Rose, and I was really into drinking like herbal teas, and I was an herbalist actually. This broke my heart. I'm an herbalist, and of course not doing anything with it right now. But I made my own tinctures and extracts. I had a whole pharmacy in my kitchen. But you can't take stuff like that with you, and I gave it to my daughter-in-law. She was interested in it, and I mean, there was a lot of things that meant a lot to me. But I was so anxious for this lifestyle that I was willing to give it up. Are you willing to give it all up? I know there's things that you love. Are you willing to give it up for this? And a lot of nomads do this. Eventually there comes a video where they talk about the low points of this lifestyle. And I think more and more these things are cropping up, especially now with this lockdown. I mean, this lockdown has thrown a lot of us, thrown a wrench in our whole system. Those who have been nomads for years, nothing's really changed for them. But those of us who are new to this, for me personally, I mean, I don't know BLM land. It's one of the reasons I'm in the city. I don't know. The BLM land that I found thus far had really poor cell service. I need cell service. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember when I had my appendicitis in Lake Havasu. I was on BLM land, and I got appendicitis. I couldn't even make a phone call. I couldn't even get GPS service. I had to just drive. And guess which way is Lake Havasu, So, you do need cell service. Yeah, you do. It's dangerous not to. So I don't really know BLM well enough, and I've asked around on Facebook. I told you that story about that gal said, she goes, you have to do what the rest of us do. You just have to go out there and find it. It's like with the lockdown thing, I just don't think that's a good idea. That's one of the reasons I'm staying in the city, where I know where I'm at. I'm waiting for this lockdown to finish. So I think this lockdown has kind of thrown some of us into kind of a bad situation because we're new to this lifestyle. And, like Bob Wells and his gang, I mean, they know BLM land. They know where they're going. They know what's good and where the good spots are not. I haven't a clue. I know where the city life is, but, and we'll talk more about this. So, this is food for thought. Yeah. I mean, and so if you're going to get started, what if this happens again? What if you wait? And by the way, I will suggest, if you are not out there and you're thinking about doing this, wait till the lockdowns are done. Don't come out here now, because I just wouldn't suggest it. I would stay where you're at and wait and see what happens. And when when people get, screw their heads back on straight and realize that the economy needs to kind of get moving, yeah, before we go into the dark ages and Great Depression. So, well, I'll talk to you next time.